There you go. I told you. Pal. Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm here with the
San Diego.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of That Scuffed Up, episode 29. Today, coming right at you at this very moment, we have a brand new season. Winter 2023 has just emerged on the onset of the ending of the fall 2023 season. What we got for you today, we have week one preview breakdown for you guys. A lot of new teams, a lot of different teams have left, so the cycle continues. And we have some more award predictions we want to talk about later on in the show. And first team, second team, all team for those as well. And then, pretty much always a lot of things we got to talk about on the show, especially now with the new way the league is run, Division 1, Division 2, and Purple League. So let's start it off with our first stuff of the day. My partner, Steven, how are we doing today?
You know what? We're here. Busy weekend this past weekend. That's one of the things we'll be talking about later as well. I took a good trip to Arizona. As you saw, I was actually recording in Arizona for most of the podcast last time. So we talk about that later on. Very, very busy and interesting weekend out there. So, but yeah, we got a bunch of stuff with this league. Could possibly even throw some other stuff in there. Who knows? But overall, we'll see how things are getting along here. But new season starting real quickly. Some people like it, some people aren't the biggest fans of it. But regardless, that's what's happening here. So 1 week already in the books, and 7 more to go before the playoffs and all that.
Right, exactly. So I know it's kind of difficult for some teams to really figure out their players last minute in case they have to adjust their schedules and whatnot. So that shorter distance between the two seasons is a little bit interesting to work around, but you got to work with what you get. So, but here we go. We've got some new look teams in Division 2. Division 1 looks a little different this season as well. Not as many teams as we did in the previous season with 19 in total. This season we actually have a pretty less number of teams. A lot more Purple League teams have just entered the scene as well, so that's starting to grow a little bigger. But let's start off with the Division 1 games that we've got. A lot of close games, a couple of shutout wins in there. So looks like we got the first one of the day. We've got the Avocabros and the Beach City Bombers. Both of these teams were just in the onset of the playoffs the previous season. They're coming in here looking for a new wave of momentum to try to get in there. Avocabros, obviously, we know them very well, and same thing with the Beach City Bombers. They do come away with a win in this one. The final score was 9-8 in this first D1 matchup in Winter 2023.
Yeah, we get a new look Beach City Bombers and a little bit of new look for the Avocabros as well. New players being put in, or some people being lost for each team. Beach City Bombers able to come out here with a early week one close victory, 9-8. Tyler Moore doing great things out there. Tyler Moore looks like he's getting back to that World Series form that he was on, which he was hitting the ball great, and it seems like the pitching's improving, getting back to improving a little bit better as well. But for this game, it's still very early. We'll see how the Beach City Bombers adjust without Zach. But for game one, things look pretty good for them. Able to squeeze out a win here. Tyler hitting some bombs, and for the Avocabros, they're right there. They're right there in another game. Both these teams did just get knocked out in the wild card round of the playoffs this previous season, but they're looking to do some different damage here. But before I pass it back over, just an FYI, as we're recording this, we don't have the player stats right now for week one. Those have not been given to us or been posted online. So we're doing we're doing it mainly based off us. Of us watching the games and me watching the games and stuff like that since I was there the whole time. But uh, we don't have any individual stats. We can't highlight anybody right now for these games. But very very close game here, and it may have some big implications as we go down throughout the season.
Right, exactly so. And with the absence of the MS Warriors and the Purple Huskies this season, they probably have a better chance to really come to the playoffs. But obviously, first season is pretty early. First week of this season is very early for these two teams. So props to the Beach City Bombers for getting this win. Unfortunately, we won't be able to highlight too many stats here, but it looks like they have some new players on both of these teams. Didn't have a chance to meet them yet, but they look like there are some pretty interesting prospects out there, so a lot to see as we go throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm blanking on his name. I know the Avocados had a new guy out there. Beach City Bombers had a little bit of the same group. Obviously missing Zach though, but we'll talk about it more with the Purple League. We have the Beach City Dingers now in the Purple League who played right before this in the first game slot. So I think that helped the guys get warmed up pitching wise and hitting wise, and was able to propel them to a victory here.
Absolutely. And our next game of the day, we've got the Trash Pandas taking on the OC Wiffles of LA. OC Wiffles have a new guy on their squad as well. Trash Pandas about the same group of guys after losing in the World Series to the LA Wiffles of OC in the previous season. They're coming in here and they get the first win of the year against the OC Wiffles of LA, 6-1. I believe their other big player for the OC Wiffles of LA, Ethan Lee, was absent. He was not available for this game, so they were down to about 4 guys for this game, which was not the only one that they had as well.
Yeah, both the LA Wiffles and OC Wiffles had some roster adjustments. So the captain of the OC Wiffles from the fall, Donna Caroni, moved over to the LA Wiffles to make their roster of 5, which includes Steven, Dustin, Justin, Jordan, and Dominic. And then the OC Wiffles, they kept 4 of their 5 guys and added in Ethan Raffman from the Shepherd's Pie from Anthony's team this previous season to make their lineup: Ethan Lee, Ethan Raffman, James Lee, and then David and Evan Kuros. So no Ethan Lee tonight, which ended up hurting them a little bit, but they were able to hold the Trash Pandas to 6 runs. With Trash Pandas, they had a very good postseason run, winning their first 3 games, especially 2 big wins against the top team, against the number 1 ranked Purple Huskies this previous fall, before falling to the Wiffles of OC and a pretty good World Series. That second game especially was very good, as we talked about on the previous week, but I believe there was a 6-inning home run from James Lee. Other than that, not a whole lot of offense from the OC Wiffles of LA. The Trash Pandas are starting to make a bigger and bigger name for themselves. They came in as the number 2 seed, kind of where they left off last year, finishing second in the playoffs and things like that. I saw a lot of good things from both of these teams as I was watching this game. Trash Pandas are continuing right where they left off. I know Blake Fitzgerald was happy with that there wasn't much of a break. He told me, he's like, we don't play for 2 or more weeks, and all of a sudden I feel like I forget how to pitch a wiffle ball again. But I also saw some improvements from the OC Wiffles of LA, some improvements at the plate, and then James still doing his thing on the mound. Once they get Ethan back, I believe the OC Wiffles are going to have a much better record than they did the previous season in the fall.
Absolutely. New look team, so you got different expectations for this squad. They're looking for a better season this year than they had last time in the fall, only getting about 2 wins or so in that season. They certainly want to get more wins than this, but obviously to a rough start to start off the season here in the winter. So definitely a tough game for them, but Trash Pandas for sure. They're going to be one of those playoff contenders now, especially with the absence of the other 2 teams we mentioned as before.
Yeah, they're going to be in that mix for that World Series. The top 2 seed is kind of what's expected for them at this point. Them and the other Wolves of OC are kind of expected to compete for those top seeds. But I wouldn't be surprised if the OC Wolves of LA are right there competing for one of those top 2 or 3 seeds as well. I could see that happening, but not the best start for the OC Wolves of LA. But they got another game up soon. But first we got to talk about the defending champions.
Yep, so as we get into this one, the protege of the OC Wolves of LA. We got the LA Wolves of OC playing against Shepherd's Pie, which is Anthony Grus's team, returning back for another season. This time, Matt Hornich has transitioned from the other team to this one, so they get an extra push on the offensive side of things on there. This was expected to be a pretty close game, but LA Wolves of OC, after winning the World Series in the fall season, jump in front for the first game of the season, 10-0 shutout victory for their team.
Yeah, it was kind of it was still back in the same track for the LA Wolves of OC, coming off their World Series victory. Me personally playing in that game, it was nice not to have to play a super serious game for once. It just felt like for a while our games we were super serious. Whether it be in this league or whether it be me playing in fast pitch or just in Arizona, pretty much every game was serious. So it was good to be back out here and be able to relax a little bit and just enjoy being out here with the guys. As I mentioned earlier, Dominic Caroni's now on the LA Wolves of OC. Had a couple hits in his return as he won a championship with them in the spring of 2023. But Steven going 5 for 8 on the day. Had a couple lucky hits, but did contribute to the first home run of the season for the LA Wolves of OC with a 3-run homer. Then pitching-wise for the Wolves of OC, all their three main guys, Steven, Jordan, and Justin, went 2 innings each. I believe only Dustin allowed a runner on third base. Other than that, it was smooth sailing for the pitching of the Wolves of OC. But I did see some improvement as well from the Shepherd's Pie. It's the first time in a while Anthony's had more than 5 people on a team. So I heard him mention it during the game. It was kind of nice for him to be able to not have to be out there every time because he often roams in between fields while his games are going on. So he felt like it was nice for him not to have to worry about having a guy missing while he's roaming around while they're in the field. What's his name from Shepherd's Pie? Nicholas Tone made more of his pitching debut this time. Pitched a couple innings, allowed a few runs, but did look good on the mound, except against Steven for the most part. And without some errors in the field, I believe there are 3 or 4 drop line drives or pop-ups. This game could have been a lot closer.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of those. They're bringing back also another familiar name, Sergio, who was part of those Plastic Pitches teams a couple seasons ago. Makes his return from working with the Angels Associated team. Obviously, he gets some free time now with the season over, so he's back in wiffle ball form. Had a few dropped on the defensive side. It was mostly off of Steven's bat. Those balls were where they were hit, and unfortunately for Steven, it allows him to get some better stats to start off the season, and once again, really riding off that wave of what he did a season ago.
That's just what happens when you hit just straight rockets.
Love it.
Yeah, I wish. Some of them. Jordan actually had a rocket that was dropped in the outfield, but both of mine were pop-ups that, Sergio's got he'll have time to readjust to how wiffle ball moves and things like that. But just had a couple, like one off the hands and one he just read wrong. So it happens. I think Shepherd's Pie is going to be in a better place as well this season. I could see them making a push for that playoffs for a playoff spot. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is playoff wise. How many teams are going to make it? We'll find that out later on. But there are 6 teams instead of 8 teams now. But I think Shepherd's Pie is looking better than it was in the previous season. Having Matt Hornich back is always a nice addition. I think getting a couple other new guys as well is I think it'll be good for them as well. But really, we'll see. They're continuing their push. They're trying to maintain that top dog spot and see how they can defend their World Series title. Which, for the first time in a few seasons, the defending World Series champion won their first regular season game in a while. The previous 2 seasons that the previous winner had lost. Actually, it was involved the Wolves of OC and the Beach City Bombers, whichever team did not win the World Series beat the other in the summer and fall season, the very first game of the year. So, first time in a while we see the winner win their first game.
Might be an interesting foreshadow there for sure. as we move into the OC Wolves of LA versus Avocabros game. This indeed was a very close game between these two teams. Low scoring, which is a big surprise when you talk about the Avocabros in a sentence, but it looked like they had a really good outing. I believe this game finished off on a game ender, and OC Wolves of LA seeing that same theme that they saw a season ago, really close in games, almost every single one, just really losing out on that last step. Definitely a factor with some of the absences because they were playing with 4 guys, and unfortunately they start the season 0-2.
Yeah, it was one. Avocabros win this one 3-2 off of a walk-off walk. Avocabros, I believe they're winning 1-0 going to the top of the 6th, as the Avocabros were the home team. Then I believe Ethan Raffman had a triple, and James Lee had a 2-run home run, I believe it was. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the 6th inning to make it a 2-1 game. But then James Lee was out of innings. Then David Quiros, he walked 4 guys, had to be pulled out. And then Ethan Raffman, making his first pitching appearance of the year, was unable to find the strike zone. The Avocabros ended up winning on a walk-off walk. As very close game for these teams. Two very close games now for the Avocabros, both decided by 1 run to start off the year. Them taking this one after losing the first one to the Beach City Bombers, but I think there's definitely a lot of improvement for the OC Wiffles of LA. Once they get Ethan Lee back, I think they'll be even better. But OC Wiffles do fall to 0-2, which will put them in last place most likely. And then Avocabros, they sit at 1-1, and they're able to make up for their 1-run loss in game 1.
Yeah, first victory for them. Obviously, they lost the previous game, the first one of the day versus Beach City Bombers. Dropped that game in a very close one. They win one in a close one here as well. So that might be another theme that we might see with Avocabros getting into those close games. And the same thing for the OC Wolves of LA. Obviously, it just depends on what type of pitching you've got and how well your bats are going to be able to respond when you give up those important runs in these situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Both these teams will be in those mix for those playoff spots. Just going to be all about who's going to be able to get the wins when necessary. This could be a big tell as we go down to the further on into the season. This game, both these teams could look back at this game and say, this is the difference maker for whether we got into the playoffs or not. But we'll see how things roll.
Yes, sir. Now we get to our final Division 1 game of the day. The Beach City Bombers taking on the Trash Pandas. This could be a potential contender game watch here as we look at these two teams. Obviously, the Trash Pandas, we talked about them before, getting their victory against the OC Wiffles of LA, and then Beach City Bombers also coming off of a win against the Avocabros. So both of these teams coming off of their first victories of the season. So it ends up being the Trash Pandas taking over the Beach City Bombers in a low-scoring game. Final score, this one also very close, 2-1, the final score.
Yeah, lot of very close games to start off this week 1 for Division 1. Obviously we had that 6-1 game. We had that 10-0 game earlier. Other than that, all the other games have really been 1-run games. They've all been extremely close. Beach City Bombers were able to improve on their pitching a little bit from game 1, only allowing 2 runs. However, could not get the bats going. And a guy like Blake Fitzgerald maybe on that Cy Young watch as well. Starting off real hot pitching wise. Trash Pandas only allowed 1 run in each game, and especially with Blake kind of being the main 4-inning guy now, with Mo not being there he has sometimes where he misses some weeks, and now Mo's kind of been that second guy that they go to. Things can be. Blake Fitzgerald may be in there for some Cy Young and some possible MVP votes as well, with the MS Warriors and Purple Huskies leaving. So I think that's a potential name to look out for in those awards for the winter 2023. Maybe we'll be discussing him later as we get into the fall 2023 award winners later on. But for this, this is another good decider. Trash Pandas start off 2-0. The Beach City Bombers do start off 1-1, so Trash Pandas will probably be the number 1 seed, given the fact they've played 2 games. The other Wiffles of OC have only played 1. But you never know. We got 7 more weeks to decide to figure out this whole thing, and I'm sure those two undefeated teams will play each other at some point soon.
Yeah, and let's not forget some of those weekend series as well that are going to come up this season. Those exact dates are still being worked on, I believe. But it should be, I think we have two of them. Obviously, with the Sand Series is one of them, and then I believe we have a Turkey Trot thing planned out as well later in the season. So a lot of games to be played this season.
There was an email sent out today actually. So make sure you do check your emails. There was an email for some of the captains to look at a Google form to fill it out, and make sure you guys talk with your team and kind of let each other know who will be there, who won't for these different series. You have the most likely have the Turkey Trot and Potluck happening on December 2nd, which will have games going on and like a potluck going on. That'll be 11 at Tustin Sports Park on December 2nd, and then September 10th, starting at 10 a.m. We have the Sand Series going on as well at the Balboa Peninsula, and then I got to figure out exactly when the All-Star game and stuff is, which that may be December 3rd. That's as it says on the old schedule, but who knows what things may get twisted around. But that's the plan as of right now. So make sure to tell your captains to fill out that form and talk to your teammates about whether you're going to be attending those events or those outside events or not. We'd love to have people there, but if you can't make it, then obviously no one's going to force you to go. So.
Yeah, unless someone just drags you, takes you in the car, and pulls you to those events. Could be Steven, who knows. Anyways,
that's what I do with Justin.
Yeah, that's why I'm always there every week. Anyways,
that's what I did for the summer baseball as well.
Oh yeah, that is very true. Division 2 we got now. Different look this season. We have a couple of new teams actually who are in here. The first one would be actually on the first game of our sheet here, which is the Bad News Dingers versus the OC Juicers. Not to be mistaken with the OC Seals, who were the champions last season. This is a completely new team walking in here as the OC Juicers. Interesting name. But let's take a look at this game. Bad News Dingers and OC Juicers. We've seen Bad News Dingers a season ago, who got knocked out of the playoffs, and OC Juicers are a brand new team. This game was 18-1, so a big score and a big welcome to the OC Wiffle Ball League for the OC Juicers.
Yeah, the OC Juicers, they do contain some of the same players from the Pacific Thrashers. I don't believe all of them are the same. I believe some of them are new, so you get a little bit of a rebrand from that team. But yeah, like for example, a team like the Pacific Thrashers, they haven't played in a couple weeks, so they may have been a little rusty. Whereas the Bad News Dingers, actually, they were in the same boat. They hadn't played since what's it called? They hadn't really played since like October 10th. So both these teams a little rusty. However, the pitching of the Bad News Stingers was able to get out the Juicers, and then Bad News Stingers were able to attack on the runs, starting them off at 1-0. You have a smaller D2 as well. We went down from 6 teams to 4 teams going into this season, so who knows what may happen with this division. But Bad News Stingers do get a good first win of the season and do get some good run differential as well.
Yeah, so new look to the Division 2 squad. Not a whole lot of games on our sheet this season for Division 2, most likely. Between these teams, there's a lot less number of teams in Division 2, just like Division 1 as well. Moving on, though, to the next team, we've got Whoosh, who are coming off of a loss in the World Series game after a walk-off home run by our very own Michael Weiss. We had him on the show last week. If you haven't checked out that episode, go check it out. Pretty interesting stuff from Michael Weiss and other special guests, including Joey Ponder as well. Damn. Whoosh coming in here against the Bad News Dingers, who just came off of a win against the OC Juicers. And Whoosh take back what they wanted and they get their first victory of the season against the Bad News Dingers, 11-5.
Yeah, you mentioned that episode from last week. I'm looking at the page right now. You know that last week episode is actually the 5th most viewed podcast we've had so far. So make sure you guys check it out. It's got Joey Ponder, you got Michael Visa there, you got obviously special guest us talking about our World Series win. So go check that out. Woosh were one of those teams who did not get on the podcast because they did lose to a walk-off home run in Game 3 of the World Series, but they had a very good end to the season and making it to the World Series and forcing a Game 3, coming out for revenge to come out and start out with revenge, trying to get for this season. Come off with a good 11-5 victory versus Woosh. Versus Bad News Dingers, I should say. Woosh is potentially looking like that team to beat in Division 2 right now, but however, we did see that in the very first week of the fall season, which they won 34-3 against the Pacific Thrash, who ended up not winning a game this previous season. So who knows what may happen? But Woosh off to a good start, and Bad News Dingers is not a bad loss for them. They sit 1-1 right now after these 2 games, so. It'll be interesting to see how they do against Wiffle D's and how they keep doing against these other teams in the future weeks. So, but I think for this season, I have a feeling Woosh is going to be on a mission.
Yeah, definitely. Now they have an opportunity and a window to steal away that World Series title that was so close in their reach in the World Series for Division 2. Obviously, the OC Seals are not here this season. I believe they're just taking a small little break until they come back next season. So hopefully everything is all good with them. But for Division 2, Woosh kind of got a pretty good chance to really make things happen here. And as we talk about the other game that they are part of against Wiffle D's, who they actually beat in that championship series a season ago. Woosh playing against their other rival, the Wiffle D's team now. Woosh take this one 10-7, increase their streak to 2 wins. So great start to the season for Woosh here in winter 2023.
Yeah, pretty close game here overall. Coming into the season, Wiffle D's and Woosh were kind of looked at as the top 2 teams in Division 2 at this point. So I think these will kind of be the top 2 teams you see. We'll see how Bad News Stingers do and if the OC Juicers are able to figure things out. But I would personally look at these two as the top 2 teams. But like I said, I think Woosh are going to be on a mission for this year. I think that the taste of defeat is still fresh in their minds. Also, probably the taste of ice cream because Donald told them if they made it to the World Series, he would treat the team to ice cream after the World Series, no matter whether they win or lose. So I'm sure that taste is probably still good with them. As the other OC manager, we want to see our Division 2 team get into the World Series. We want,
Yeah, where's our food? Where's our free treat, man?
Well, y'all left right after the game. You're like, oh, I have to go home. Oh, I have to go to a meeting. Okay.
I'm sure we can figure out something for that then later.
We'll see. That's a discussion for off the podcast. But back to the games here. For Wiffle D's and Woosh, I think this is going to be a constant matchup we see. This could be a World Series preview that we keep seeing throughout these weeks, and these teams will keep playing each other at least 3-4 times, as their teams that. Two of the 4 teams in Division 2, so pretty close game. I could see these teams splitting these series throughout the year, and then once you get to the playoffs, I think things can become more interesting as you get into the playoffs. But right now, Woosh is looking like that top team right now, winning these first 2 games.
Yeah, certainly so. And obviously, we don't get a whole lot of chances to talk about Division 2 too much, since we don't really see them as much. But obviously, the big story would be Woosh in that team. We know a lot of those guys very well, and I'm sure they're vying to return back to the playoffs and try to give themselves a chance to win their first title in franchise history.
Yeah, they're trying to do what their parent team, the other Wolfsville C, are doing over here.
They have mentioned that to me a lot of times.
It's always good to be able to have some fun and joke around with some of the other players as well. But I still need some trade value back from you, Donald.
That's a discussion for off the podcast later.
Yeah, it is.
It definitely is. All right, well, we've got Purple League here coming up on this next section. We have a couple of new teams as well. Some teams from Division 1 have entered the play as well. Obviously, we talked about it earlier with the Beach City Dingers as one of those new additions to the Purple League, and taking on the Pancake Batters, who were also there last season. Between these two teams, big expectations in this one. High-scoring game is exactly what the story was. 14-12 was this game.
Yeah, we saw the return of the Pancake Batters, who did miss out on the playoffs, and we got the Beach City Dingers, they have some of those players from the Beach City Bombers, along with a few other people who are not on the Beach City Bombers normally. So you get those players. In. Pancake Batters do take this one. Starting off the Purple League, the other two divisions have gone down in the number of teams. But the Purple League has actually gone up in the number of teams, going from 4 to 6. So that's always something we enjoy seeing. There was no LWO Seed Purple League team for this season. I don't know any females at all, so females don't want to talk to me. So they don't want a guy who's a tryhard in wiffle ball. But we'll see for the future. But
I'm sure
it's good to see some new teams in here. There was no Anthony's Purple League team did not play this week, as they were unable to. But I believe he's got a different group out here as well from the fall. And then we also have a new team, which is very interesting for the league. We have the team that started off as the 5 seed, given that they're new. We got Spice, which returns one of the better players in OC with ball, and in their time in Brandon Mayo. If for those who don't know, he played 2 seasons here in the past, in the fall of 2022 and the spring of 2023. Very good pitcher in this league. Also can hit the ball as well. But that could mean some interesting things. Whether he comes to play in D1 at some point, or whether he just decides he just wants to have fun. It seems like that's a family team playing in the Purple League. So it seems like they get to have some fun out there with the family each week. But I think there might be some people trying to talk to Brandon Mile, trying to get them on their D1 team or something like that, because he was very successful with the Diablos. They were the 1 and 2 both seasons they were here. They had a bye each week, each of the playoffs. They were the number 1 and 2 seed. They made the spring 2023 World Series. Where actually Brandon Mayo was on the wrong end of one of the better catches in OC wiffle ball history. Which, if you go check out episode 4, I believe it was, we go into that World Series much more in detail and go into detail about that catch made by some loser in the outfield. I can't remember who it was, but that could mean some interesting things for this league. So good to see these new teams out here, and we hope they continue to have fun and continue to come out for these future seasons. But 6 teams does make things a little interesting for the Purple League.
It certainly does. It makes it a very interesting pool for play here, and as I'm going to kind of use this as a segue to talk about our next game. We got Spice, interesting group of players. Obviously, you talked about one of those members being Brendan Mayo. It looked like they have a family as the makeup of this entire team. Saw a little kid, some older members in there, so definitely looked like kind of a family type of recreational thing. So great for them. Like, that's kind of what we were thinking, for the Purple League. If you want to have fun, just go out there, bring your family members out, or if you have a girlfriend or whatnot, then bring them out too. Steven and I both know, like, we don't really know a whole lot of people, obviously, to make a Purple League team. So I don't know. Someone hit us up, give us a chance.
As you're talking about the Lucas Sarno episode, those strategies aren't working so far. So
yeah, Lucas, what the heck, man? We got to get him back on here.
No, you have to actually use his strategies in the first place. We're not using them.
Oh, then maybe that's our problem then.
That seems to be the issue. So maybe for the spring season, who knows?
We should have Lucas come back on here and give us a segment on this show.
No, we don't need this podcast that much. People already complain that it's too long. We don't need it that much longer.
Fair. All right. Well, anyways, not to cut any more time, we got Spice facing off of a guest we had last week, which was Joey Ponder and his Galizier Gladiators team. Obviously, we know them to make the YouTube videos, if you haven't checked some of those out. You probably should. They're very interesting. He's got some mic'd up videos as well. He's got a great cast of people on that team. Obviously, they make a lot of great content. In this game, Glizzy Gladiators take the win after winning the World Series for the Purple League last season over We Got Spice and getting their first win of the season.
Yeah, the champs do start off with another win here. Glizzy Gladiators did win the fall 2023 Purple League World Series, so they get out here, get another win, another close game right here. But as we talked about with Joy last week, they have more of their guys coming out this week, and I'm sure we'll see more offense from both these teams as the season goes on.
Absolutely. I mean, we know Glizzy Gladiators have that ability to get some explosive offense. I'm very intrigued on how this We Got Spice team does as we get later in the weeks here, to see what kind of power they got. Obviously, we know they have some good power with Brandon Mayo back there as one of their players. But really intrigued, which allows me to get to the next game, which is We Got Spice versus Wiffle Does. Obviously, Wiffle Does is the Purple League team version of the Wiffle D's team from Division 2. We Got Spice actually takes their first victory against Wiffle Does in this one. 6-3 was the final score in this game.
Yeah, able to get that going the last Purple League game of the night. Players that play out Wiffle Does and Wiffle D's, they do end up losing both their games tonight. Both of them 3-run games, both of them pretty close games. So it would be interesting to see how things continue in the Purple League and what Anthony's Purple League team is going to look like as well as they come out here. It seemed that they were unable to play the first week, but we'll see what happens this coming week.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our first week results of everything that we saw in this first week. Obviously, a lot less games we had to cover, but it gives us a little more time to kind of cover most of what was new. Obviously, the season is still young, still bright, still young. So we get to see what's going. I said that twice. We get to see a lot more coming in the next few weeks or so. So we'll come back up with week 2 stuff later on. But that gives us time to talk about some of the awards for the previous season and our Steven's picks for all American teams and what he did in Arizona as well. So we've got a couple awards. I guess we'll kind of highlight what the awards we usually give out. Obviously, we had a new one last season, which was Relief Pitcher of the Year. We have All-Star Game MVP, Manager of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young Award, Hank Aaron, Silver Slugger, MVP. Am I missing anything? I believe that's all of them, right?
Yeah, there might be some not as many awards for D2 or the Purple League. We'll hopefully have some confirmation as to what awards are going to be given out. We'll be able to give a preview for that. But yeah, I'm getting a little sweaty in these clothes, so I think we should change some clothes and start this up again.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, we're back. We changed our clothes. Wearing something a little nicer now. Steven's got a different shirt on.
Yeah, you finally don't smell as bad.
Put some cologne on. That's all I had to do.
Oh, nasty.
Yeah, I just sprayed some Sour Patch Kids on my armpits. Anyways.
Okay.
We got our next segment of the show that we mentioned earlier, which was talking about the award winners, or our predictions for award winners, and then the first team / second team. In this case, first team for Purple League in Division 2, and then first team, second team for Division 1, because there's a lot more players in that big division. So let's start off like we usually do with building it up towards Division 1. So we got Purple League, Division 2, and then Division 1. For the most part, I believe Steven has kind of made a lot of these choices for the award stuff. We also had some help with our show friend Ryan Lavelle, who obviously pays attention more to Division 2 a little bit more, so we got some of his input as well. But this is just general consensus. Obviously, that doesn't mean that these people have won these awards. These are just what we are expecting, or what we think is deserving most of these awards. So don't use that against us, because we're just trying to do a show and pick who we believe deserves the right and how they perform throughout the season. Starting off with the Purple League, if you will. Looks like we've got two different preliminary awards here. We've got the first one because now we have a culmination of women and men in this league, so we can make two different distinctions with that award. So, Purple Man of the Year, according to Stephen Hayden, he's got Anthony Agurusa. Would you like to explain a little bit why that choice?
Well, let me backtrack a little bit there for you. Okay. We have a bunch of different awards, and let's be clear. I've reached out to try to figure out what all the awards are, because there will be less awards given out in the Purple League as compared to D2, and then D1 will have the most awards being given out. So I've tried to reach out and try to figure out what awards going to be given out, but I haven't heard anything. So unfortunately, I'm just kind of going with my gut here in terms of what I'm predicting the awards will be. If there's some different awards, then like I said, I haven't heard from Anthony on what awards are we giving out or what are not. So we're doing. I'm doing the best I can. I've had to make I've made a lot of predictions based off looking at different things. But there are a bunch of awards that can be given out.
Okay.
So as you can see, actually not gone behind me, showing off some of the awards that I've won that'll be given out. Stuff such as the Hank Aaron Award. This is one I won back in the spring of 2022. That's when these awards were plates. You also have awards such as this mug, which doesn't have a name on it, but this was for my spring 2023 Silver Slugger. And then I got another plaque here as my glasses try to break themselves. I have my Manager of the Year plaque from the summer of 2022. It's another award that'll be given out. We'll see to how many levels, and then I just showed these when the awards are being handed out. I have my All-Star Game MVP mug, and then I also have my MVP mug. Not quite as cool as the plaques in my opinion, but it is what it is. It's what I have right now. So overall, I do miss these plaques from the early days. These are some of the cooler plaques in my opinion. I wish we had these back, but we'll see what the awards look like for this coming season. But anyways, for the Purple League, I believe the awards are I'm guessing that the awards are going to be. It's going to be the Purple League Man of the Season and Purple League Woman of the Season. For the Man of the Season, I did choose Anthony Agurusa. Had a great campaign there in the Purple League. Led the Purple League in a lot of different stats. Had the most hits in Purple League. Had the most home runs in the Purple. He had 21 home runs in the Purple League, which was 10 above the next person, which was actually Kyle Fromm of the champion Glizzy Gladiators. Anthony was second in batting average, but I'm going to give it first because Matt Hornich didn't have a whole lot of at-bats, who was in front of him. Anthony was first in on base percentage, first in slugging, first in isolated power, all those first in OPS, all that stuff. So I'm gonna give that to him. He also pitched the most innings, and overall, looking at all those numbers, his team came in second. They made it to the World Series, losing in 3 games, but they didn't make it there. Overall, I'd lean all those to give that. I'd be leaning the direction of giving that award to Anthony Agurusa. And then for the Female Player of the Year, I've gone with from the champion Glizzy Gladiators. I've gone with Shelby Balin. Shelby Balin had a great first season here with the Glizzy Gladiators. From what we heard from Joey last week, she was kind of the she was the best. She was the best female pitcher in their minds in the Purple League. She had a 9 ERA, 16 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts, and then hitting wise, she was great as well. One of the better hitters on the Glizzy Gladiators. Shelby had a 486 average with a 571 on base percentage. Both team highs on the team actually. Didn't actually, funny enough, did not contribute a homer the whole year, but did have 17 hits on the year. So when you combine all that, those would be the two I would choose for that. If you want to disagree with me, go ahead, or if Justin wants to disagree with me now, yeah, he can.
No, I mean, not a whole lot of disagreement there. I mean, it's nice that we have the league leader stat sheet just to look at, a lot of those things. So if you wanted to kind of see like where everybody stood in your respective leagues, you have the ability to look at that. Obviously, I understand that we're looking at the top guy up there, which is obviously Anthony Grusa, and then you said yourself, Shelby Balin also led in a lot of other parts of that as well, doubles and triples, which is really nice. Obviously, Anthony got some really big numbers in the Purple League while he was down there. And then you also said, Matt Horn should have gotten some more recognition, obviously, but didn't have as many hits because I know he wasn't there.
Just didn't have as many at bats.
Yeah.
You compare. You just compare Anthony. Well, you compare Anthony. Anthony had 64 plate appearances. Matt Hornich at 35. We all know Matt can hit, but if you're not there, it's not going to help your cause.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to argue with that. The one team that obviously the Glizzy Gladiators won the World Series for that game, but it was a whole team effort for the most part on that side of things. So, they had just one guy really moving the machine a big chunk of the time. So, not a lot that I can retort on that. I think that's a pretty good choice for Purple League Man of the Year and Purple League Woman of the Year. So I think that's some really good names two really nice names that you put up there. So no arguments there for sure.
Okay. Did you have anyone else in consideration you're possibly thinking for the Purple League, or are you good there?
It's a little bit hard to judge for the most part. I mean, you could say certainly maybe like Katie Shinrock could have been woman of the Purple League, or you could have taken Kyle Froome up there as well. No, he's been up there in a couple of.
Well, he's not a woman, so.
I meant for Man of the Year.
Oh my god, nice one.
Yeah, could have been up there in consideration, but I just don't think nearly as enough as both Anthony Agrusa and Shelby Balin for the most part.
Yeah, those two seem like the two of the easier choices. Might be the easiest division to kind of choose award winners, at least for these two. Some pretty clear numbers that these guys are all leading in. So with that, I did choose I did make a first team for the Purple League. I just chose five. I just chose 5 players in total. I'd make sure to choose one from at least one from every team. So starting off, I did have.
Hold up.
Why? Another person I chose from the Pancake Batters. I chose Katie Shimrock. You talked about her a little bit already. Katie did well out there in her first time in out there at OC Wiffle Ball. At a .435 average and the .539 on base percentage, and then pitching wise for her, if I can find it here. Yeah, pitching wise for her, she 11 innings pitched, had a 13.64 ERA, which the slower speed limits, that's not bad at all. Kind of their main female pitcher on their team. So that's who I went with for the third spot. For the fourth spot from Wiffle Does, I went for Chris Garza. Just to make sure I chose. Yeah, I did go for Chris Garza. Chris Garza for the team had the most at bats for the team. Had a 348 average, with a .516 on base percentage, and then pitching wise, he may have had the best pitching numbers in the Purple League. He had a 4 ERA, 18 innings pitched with only 4 strikeouts though, which is very weird to see. 18 innings pitched and 4 strikeouts, but Purple League is different. Only gave up 12 runs in 18 innings, so good on him. And then for my last spot, I did choose the manager of the of the World Series winning team, the guy who we just had on last week, Joey Ponder. Joey Ponder, numbers wise, had a 476 average, 532 on base percentage. Contributed a few home runs in there. A guy like Kyle Fromm just missed out, in my opinion. If there was a second team, he would definitely be on there. But for me, he just missed out on the first team because of the impact of the pitching from Joey Ponder. Joey Ponder, he didn't pitch a whole lot. He didn't pitch a whole lot in the regular season. I know some of those numbers may not be totally correct, but especially when it came to playoff time, he was a big pitcher for them. So those are my 5 I put in for the the Purple League All-American team. Do you have anybody that you disagree with or that you put in or take out?
I mostly looked at the offensive side of things for the most part. I guess the argument, like you said, Joey Ponder, the reason why he's there on the first team is because of the pitching contribution that he had. Kyle Froome probably would have been up there for me as well, but obviously we're talking about versatility on both pitching and offensive side. I guess you could make the argument that maybe a person like Alex Harris could have been also in there as well. Had a pretty good season, 420 average, 21 hits and 50 at-bats, 10 home runs, slightly better numbers, but obviously it's more the pitching that kind of helped Chris Garza on there, like you said before. So I think that's a pretty good pick there. Definitely, I could probably trade between the two if you were emphasizing more of the pitching or the batting for the first team. But other than that, I think those are some pretty good names on that first team list.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna put it in the last minute now. I'm gonna make this list 6 names.
Okay.
To put another female on there. I realized I only had Shelby. Actually, I did have Katie as well, but I'm gonna put one more female on there as a consideration. Nikki Shiver, I believe it is. Also had a very good season in the Purple League. Was the second most innings pitched for Anthony's team, the Sheeps. Also had a 411 average with a 571 on base percentage, getting 6 home runs in there as well. I'm gonna get her on the list as well for me. So I'm gonna make mine an even 6. You cool with that, or?
I'm cool with that. I think that's a pretty good choice. You got three women, 3 men. I think that's a pretty diverse group of first teamers there.
Yeah, I think it's even zings out, literally and figuratively. So, oh my god.
Okay, moving on.
Please. I had $1 for every time I heard that joke.
You'd be rich by now. So, got the Purple League people there. If you got any objections, obviously, you can send that to our HR department, which is a trash can. But moving on, we got our Division 2 picks. We got some of the input from Ryan Lavelle, who's giving us a small report from Division 2. Steven has his picks for his award winners, and we'll start off with Manager of the Year.
Well, I actually might throw this over to you. Do you want to kind of give me your predictions and see what I think for some of these awards, or do you want to just keep it the same way?
I like the format. Obviously you've already got your picks in, and I think it's nice whether I agree with it or not. I actually don't really disagree too much about this one, so take it away, honestly.
All right. D2 Manager of the Year. There were a couple guys in consideration. For me, you have guys like Donald LeCompte who have been around for a while and led his team to a World Series. You have guys like there pretty much all these managers could have been in there. Actually, when I'm thinking more about it, but I didn't end up choosing in a close spot. I ended up choosing the World Series winning manager Ryan Lavelle. For me, it was just coming in with a new team. Bringing in new guys and being able to work around those guys and see how things worked. I think he did a pretty good job, and obviously left for them to be a first place finish, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. So I think you said you didn't disagree with me too much there already with that one. So I mean, I tried not to look at. Justin said Ryan kind of influenced these picks. I personally tried not to use his stuff to help me make my picks. I tried to go look at the stats myself and remember from what I had seen this year. With the next one, I would assume there's going to be a Cy Young award for D2. That one I did give to Zach Ireland. When you look at Zach Ireland's hitting numbers, that does hurt him in the Rookie of the Year discussion. Didn't have the best hitting numbers, had a 260 average with a 422 on base percentage, but pitching wise, Zach Ireland was great on the mound. Could be a top D1 pitcher, or could have been a top D1 pitcher this past season. 38 in the third innings pitched, a 1.57 ERA, 95 strikeouts, only gave up 10 runs the whole year. To me, looking at the numbers, this one seems pretty clear in terms of that Cy Young award. I believe he led the league in innings pitched as well. Him, Joe Reese, and Jake Geck were all very close to each other. But overall, I gave this, just given the vast difference in strikeouts. As I mentioned, Zach Ireland had 95 strikeouts. The next person on the list with strikeouts was Joe Reese at 68. So 27 behind him, if I'm doing my math correctly, which I might need a calculator later on, but seems pretty self-explanatory to me, this pick, as I would think it is you, but does it?
I like it. I mean, if he doesn't get Cy Young Award winner, it certainly gets Rookie of the Year, for sure, just with his contributions just alone. Stat line wise, number one earned runs, number one ERA, number one strikeouts, like you said, some really great numbers atop the board. I guess my honorable mention, because you already talked about Joe Reese and Jake Geck, I guess my honorable mention would have been Alex Harris. Although he didn't have as many innings pitched, not as many strikeouts. He was top 3 in strikeouts, top 2 in earned runs, but he was number 2 in the ERA department. He looked pretty good, just like he's had did a couple seasons ago when he first joined the league, and would have been a close second mention, but obviously I think Zach Ireland just was too much on this list, and there's a clear reason why he should be considered as the number 1 pick for the Cy Young Award. Zach was very good the whole year. Alex was very good as well, but look at those numbers and look what Zach did. I would give it to him. So next, but the guy I'm going for the D2 Hitter of the Year and the Hank Aaron, which as described on the website is given to the best hitter of each season. Given to the best offensive player. I'm picking Owen Schur there. Owen Schur had a really good offensive season. I believe he was at the top or near the top at a lot of hitting stats this year. If we look down at his stats here, he had a 500 average, a 675 on base percentage, which if I'm not mistaken, both of those were very much high. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, he was second in on base percentage, and he was third in batting average. So he was right there in a lot of those stats. Slugging was very good. He was second in slugging, second in isolated power. His OPS, he was second in that as well. So overall, I think he had a real good hitting season. He proved himself to be one of the better hitters in the league. And this is his first time kind of being considered that. That jump to D2 seemed to be helpful for him, where he doesn't have to face the severe competition every week, facing guys like Dylan Hoffman, Stephen Hayden, and all that stuff. So that's who I would choose for the D2 Hitter of the Year. And if it's Hank Aaron and Silver Slugger, I would give him the Hank Aaron. And then Silver Slugger, Silver Slugger is a tight one.
But I'm Silver Slugger. It was usually a little more a little more power based and uh, based off the fact that it's trying to find that power and trying to see who gets the most home runs and things like that. You can look to a guy like Joe Reese to be in that conversation, um, who had a great offensive season, but the guy who led the league in home runs was actually Owens, so that could be a good choice. But the guy I'd go for Silver Slugger in this case would be Drew Plant, who was second with 11 home runs. Didn't quite have the number of at bats, so that's why I'm sticking with just the hitter of the year for Owen Schur.
Yeah, I think that's a great argument for Owen Schur, of course. Joe Reese had a lot of hits this year, big number, led the league in singles in that department as well. Drew Plant, I like personally just because that push was kind of attributed to how the Whoosh team was really successful in that last push. I do like the argument, though, that obviously he didn't have as many at-bats as Owen Schur in that sense as well. But I like Drew Plant. Maybe if he had more at-bats, those numbers would have been probably greater than Owen Schur, certainly. He finished the season with a 531 batting average over Owen Schur's 500 batting average. So maybe it could have been a little bit different if he had more at-bats in that, with that context in mind. But I think those top three guys up there are certainly in that conversation for sure. If the guy I guess I'm hoping we're both thinking about the same guy for what the next award is. We don't really have to talk about him too much in these awards because obviously it's a different conversation to be had with how well he did this season. But other than that, I think it was a great season for those three guys in there. And also Drew Plant, I mean, obviously it's not a hitting stat-wise thing, but also helped with the pitching side of things as well for Whoosh. And that's kind of what helped them be successful in the last parts of the season as they were making that playoff push. And unfortunately, wasn't able to win themselves a title, but there's a reason why they kind of made a late last push because of guys like Owen Schur and Drew Plant being on that roster.
Yeah, and I mean these awards are regular season awards; they aren't postseason awards. So I mean, I do understand your point when you say that last push. However,
Yeah.
That overall doesn't contribute too much to this in my mind. But I mean, those top three guys are right there. I'd actually probably thinking about it more and looking at it more. I didn't realize that at bats were so low for Drew Plant. I'd probably lean to Owen being so. If there are two hitting awards, I'd lean to Owen being Silver Slugger and Joe Reese being the Hank Aaron. But we'll see what happens. If there's one hitting award, I would stick with Owen Schur. But now moving on to the final one, the D2 MVP. This man, he had a big season this past year. At least the man I'm picking. He won a World Series, had a 600 average, had a 699 on base percentage, both leading the league. The power numbers weren't quite there compared to some of the other guys. He had 10 homers, so he was 2 off of Owen for the lead. But he did have 33 hits on the year, 20 of those being singles. And then pitching-wise, he was also good as well. Had a 1.29 ERA in about 10 innings, 18 strikeouts, only gave up 2 runs the whole year. Maybe if he had pitched more, he would have been. He would have. You could have seen the strikeouts and ERA go down. The strikeouts go up and the ERA go down even further. But just look. Some people may not look at him as the most valuable. They may, they may see Zach Ireland out there as the main pitcher and be focused on him, but as their second pitcher, he was really good for the Seals and a big part of them making it and winning to the World Series. My pick for the MVP would be Braden Salzman.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. Honestly, obviously had the highest on base percentage in Division II. His pitching stats, like you said, maybe not as great, but did have a 1.29 ERA in his total of 9 0.3 innings pitched with 18 strikeouts in total. Maybe if that was more, I think he'd be a landslide MVP pick here. I think Zach Ireland's also a pretty close second. But if the batting stats were a little bit more for a guy like Zach Ireland, maybe that would have been a consideration. But I think in this context, Braden Salzman had a fantastic season. I do like that pick. Certainly for what he did. I feel like also Joe Ruiz could have been made in that conversation too, with his pitching contribution and his hitting contribution for his team. But I think it just doesn't come that close enough to a guy like Braden Salzman in this case.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't help Joe's case either that his team did not make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that may not matter to some guys. Making this at least that regular season standing does make a difference. In terms of making the playoffs versus not make the playoffs. For me, it's very hard to pick an MVP who didn't make the playoffs, which we'll talk more about in D1 with the MVP votes. Some of the top guys in there, but first thinking about it without looking at any stats, my first thought would have been to go to Zach Ireland, and that could have been a very easy choice. He could still be right there, given how vast the pitching difference is between them. But just looking at the vast hitting difference between Braden Salzman and Zach Ireland is kind of nuts, to be honest. Braden Salzman had 20 more hits than Zach Ireland did, four more home runs as well. So I'm gonna give the slight edge to Braden Salzman. I think Braden will win an award regardless, whether it be MVP or the Hank Aaron Award. He's definitely deserving of at least one award. As is Zach Ireland, and so those are my choices for all. Those are my choices for all the awards that we have for D2 that I'm predicting that we're gonna have. So now moving on with my D2 team, my first team. I decided just to do one team. I've had 9 players in this team. I didn't want to do a first and second team. I'm going to save that for Division 1. So for the first team, we just finished talking about him, Braden Salzman. And then I also just finished talking about my second player, Zach Ireland. We talked about Owen Schur and Jake Geck already. Those players I also have in the first team, All-American. We talked a bit about Drew Plant, how close he is to being in that awards race. I have him in there as well. And Joe Reese, we talked a good amount as well with all these awards. So that's number 6 right there. And then I have 2 players from Wiffle D's making the list, Alex Harris and Brian Garza. Both had great pitching and hitting numbers for their teams. Just missed out on some awards, in my opinion. But definitely see them in that first team. And then I did choose one of the Pacific Thrashers. Did not have the best season. However, I did choose one from them. I think there's the guy. If we had a most improved player in the league, this guy would definitely be it. And that would be Mr. Chad French. I talked about it on the podcast during after week 2. I subbed in and played with the Pacific Thrashers because I only had one guy, and that one guy that was there was Chad French. Seeing him as a guy who had never pitched in wiffle ball before and was learning on the fly, he was getting it down pretty good. And then as he continued on, he continued to improve more and more. Finished his season. He had finished for the first time throwing a wiffle ball and learning how to pitch for the first time with a wiffle ball. He had an 8.06 ERA. 21 2/3 innings pitched, 23 strikeouts with giving up 29 runs. And then hitting-wise, he was good as well. Had a 345 average with a 433 on-base percentage. Had 5 home runs, 20 hits to his name. Overall, very impressive from Chad French. So those are the 9 names I have there for the All-American team for the Division 2 in my mind.
Yeah, I think we kind of talked about them a bunch as we were going through the awards too. A lot of these names were kind of some of those selections on there. Obviously, Chad French wasn't one of those candidates, but we want to be able to highlight at least one guy from every single team. And I think he, like you said, very improved player. I also would have also maybe considered Shane McCoy in there, just with the pitching contribution that he had. Maybe not as much as Joe Reese in that part, but certainly had a pretty good, outstanding contribution for his team. 10 home runs, 389 batting average. Maybe not as many at-bats as Joe Reese, but pretty close to that number. Had a lower ERA, but not as many innings pitched. as Joe Reese. So maybe if those were a little bit higher, probably would have been in there. But that's another guy that also helped that team have some good success in Division Two.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, there are a couple guys that just missed out, him being one of them. But I think Chad's definitely deserving of that. Not just just to make sure you have a player from each team. With these teams, I don't think about that. Especially for Purple League, I did think about that. For D1 and D2, I don't think about that. I think Chad French is definitely deserving of being up here. I think he had a real good season with. But maybe not the best. It wasn't the best situation with the Pacific Thrashers. Them not winning a game this whole season. But I think he really improved a lot and put himself out there. I was actually very close to recruiting him onto the Louisville C. That's something that no one really knows. I was thinking hard about it, but I decided let him do his thing with the Pacific Thrashers. So. That's what I've got so far for the D2 All American team.
Excellent. I do like those picks. Obviously, those are some very great stuff from Division Two. So congrats to everybody who made the list and everybody who had a great season in Division Two. Now we shall move on to Division One. Would you like to take the reins here and start discussing what we've got here?
No.
No. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So we're gonna do this one order a little bit differently. We're gonna save the awards for last. Putting some emphasis on that MVP. So for Division 1, we have a first team and a second team in this one. The first team has seven players. The second team has 6 players. So starting off with the D1 first team All American, we have Justin Lee. No, just kidding. That guy's never making it.
There's no way.
That guy's never making it. We start off with the good looking co-host Stephen Hayden. I have him in the team. Next, I have Shaden Hendrickson. I then have James Lee. Up next, I have Blake Fitzgerald. The fifth person on the list, I have Anthony Agrusa. And then in the 6th and 7th spot, I got a couple of twins and Dylan Hoffman and Drake Hoffman. And then for the D1 second team, just 6 players I have in there. I have Lucas Sardo from the Avocabros. I have True Hendrickson, Purple Huskies. Joey Ponder, Purple Huskies. Ryan Swanson from Trash Pandas. Tyler Moore from the Beach City Bombers. And Hayden Hager from the Avocabros. You have any issues with any of those? Any guys you think not on either one of those lists that should be on, or you think any guys should be switched around?
Typically the usual suspects for sure. I think the first Division 1 team guys on there had some really great seasons this year. We have some new names in there as well, not to mention James Lee, who had a fantastic pitching season. Obviously, although his team didn't do as great as a lot of people really expected, but first season, you're trying to manage expectations of how that team's going to go. So, I think it's a great pick there. I think if Zach Moore had been there the rest of the season, he definitely would have been also like maybe a second team player as well. But other than that, I think those are some great picks. I think honorable mention could have been Dustin Staggs, but obviously we don't count too much of the playoff push as much, but I think his contributions towards the very end could have been an honorable mention, but we don't do honorable mentions here. We do division first team All-American and second team All-American, obviously. So I think those are some good stuff that we've got there in the first team and the second team. Most of the same guys that we typically have been talking about the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk right. I mean, as good as a player Dustin Staggs was, he didn't have the plate appearances or the innings pitched to get in there. He missed a good number of games, so I'm not putting him in there. Sorry, I'm not putting him in there for even though he is my teammate and was a co-World Series MVP with me, but I'm not putting him in there. Actually, funny enough, looking at this stuff, I don't know if you noticed, I only have one player from the fall champions on this list, and Stephen Hayden. What are your reaction? What's your reaction to that?
Pretty interesting. Obviously, it does say a lot about one player kind of really doing a whole lot in the regular season, trying to pick up when his team has been having a slow start to the season. I think we obviously saw that as a clear sign, and then things started picking up towards the end, which was great, because that's what you need when you're getting closer to the end, is having everybody clicking on all cylinders. And but I think it says a lot in terms of the stat line. Some great stuff there from that man there. I'm not sure. That guy is an interesting figure, that's for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk more about him as the awards go on as well. We can talk. I mean, Stephen Hayden being the only player from the LA Wolves of OC, the champions, LA Wolves of OC, I might add, only player that be on either the first or the second team from their team. So I know you have some guys missing, you have some guys not at the best numbers, but things kicked in at the end of the season for the team and ended up leading to success. But it's some interesting stuff in here. Obviously, James Lee and Blades popping in here first time in the league, making it to the first team is always impressive. Blake Fitzgerald, I believe I had him on the second team last year, and he's been moved up to the first team this year. Has really started to come out as a standout pitcher. The addition of Ryan Swanson now into the second team, his first appearance on the list here. And I'm not sure how that Joey Ponder guy is here, but we make light work of it. I thought we already talked about him enough in the Purple League, but he seems to want to come back. At least Anthony Agrusa made the first team, and not unlike Joey, like the second team, but that's all right. So now we'll get on to some of the awards here. A couple not D1 related, but just kind of general related. The home run derby champion was actually Jordan Dreschler from the LA Wolves of OC. Won the home run derby against in the final against Ryan Swanson, I believe it was. And I believe he had James Lee pitching to him. So All-Star game Jordan. Obviously, so Jordan Dreschler will be winning that award. That one we know for sure. All-Star game MVP. Honestly, I couldn't tell you guys who I think is going to win that. I'm just going to be completely honest. That weekend I was gone away in New York, Pennsylvania, so I was not at the All-Star Game or Home Run Derby at all. And then I thought Justin was going to be there, but Justin was not feeling good on the day. I'm not going to say it. And so I have no clue on the All-Star Game MVP and stuff like that. I've tried to ask around, and
No, you can say it.
I haven't got any. I moved on from that already.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep us like PG here.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we're suggesting that now. Okay. I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So All-Star Game MVP. Yeah, moving swiftly on. All-Star Game. I have no clue. That's going to be something we figure out. Mm-hmm. So obviously no debate from Justin there, because as he wasn't there for his personal reasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't know either. I just know that James Lee was on a team. Their team didn't make it. So obviously the winner of the All-Star Game MVP only goes to the team that wins the game. So it's obviously none of those guys on that squad. So we'll just have to figure that out on our own.
So for starting off with the first award, all these you can see all the past winners on the website for the league. Well, actually, you can't see the summer 2023 awards; those have not been uploaded yet. So you can see all the awards up there from the past. But starting off with the first award I have is the Manager of the Year. Last year, this was given out. To Tyler Moore after his team won the World Series. This year, I'm giving it to another guy who captained his team to the World Series. And actually, I wasn't sure if this guy who exactly the captain was of this team. Mainly because they kind of work as a big group all together. It's not really listen to what your manager says, or else not really my way or the highway with him. He's very open to stuff and very open to giving the people opportunities and stuff. I've gone with Andrew Swanson of the Trash Pandas. They finished fourth in the regular season, and then once the playoffs came, they kicked off going 3-0 on Monday, including sweeping the number 1 overall seed Purple Huskies before falling to the LWC in 2 games in the World Series. But it's not a small That's a pretty big accomplishment right there. Do you have any quarrels with that? Anybody you consider putting there instead?
I mean, we knew the Trash Panthers were going to be the playoff contender coming into this season after they knocked off the reigning champs from the spring 2023, coming to summer 2023 as a new team knocked them off, coming here with a high expectation. They do make it to the World Series, which really helped their case, obviously losing to the original team that they first started off against. And funny enough, the very first team that the LA Wolves, the first game that they ever had in this league was against the LA Wolves OC. As their first taste coming into the league. So there's an interesting backstory there with these guys.
Give that smackdown.
Damn. In all, I do like this pick with this team. They obviously had a great team effort. There's a lot of talented guys on this team. Obviously, one of the guys a lot because you see him catch your home run balls a lot. Obviously, he made a diving catch on I believe Dylan Benji on during one of the games. I also would have gone with Drake Hoffman potentially as a Purple Huskies manager. I'm mixing things.
Drake was not in the Purple League.
Yeah, he would have raked. But for their team, if they stayed undefeated, that probably could have been a conversation piece as well. Obviously, that didn't happen when they took a loss to the MS Warriors, but they reclaimed it after the Elusa OC took down the MS Warriors, and that allowed them to get into that spot. But I do like Manager of the Year as Andrew Swanson for Trash Pandas.
Yeah. Drake Hoffman was actually my pick for the summer season for Manager of the Year. He was the guy I thought would win it. It ended up going to Tyler Moore, but defeating the Purple Huskies in the playoffs is a big accomplishment. They beat them more times than the Purple Huskies had lost in the regular season in the past two seasons. So, I think Drake Hoffman did a great job. I think he's in a very close second place here. But I'm going to give the edge to Andrew Swanson right here. Things have turned around since they've been. This looks like a very different team from when they first stepped into the league. Pitching wise, they've improved so much. They've had the hitting. It's starting to get a little more consistent now, but pitching wise, things have improved so much, and that's a big part to one of the guys in the first team that I had, Blake Fitzgerald. Moving on next, we have Reliever of the Year. This is a new award that was just given out. It was just first given out last summer. It was given out to Drake Hoffman. And it's actually named after Drake. And for this year, I've chosen True Hendrickson as my winner for this award. True Hendrickson was second. It was second in the league in ERA and in earned runs given up. He had a 3.19 ERA. Only gave up 14 runs the whole season, and was second on his team in innings pitched. He had 26 in the third compared to Drake Hoffman, who led their team with 32. True had 38 strikeouts, and overall, he still had a very good pitching season for the team. Didn't quite have the same impact as the guy as for the Cy Young, in my opinion. But that's my choice for reliever of the year. If you got any thoughts on that, let me know.
Yeah, I do. I really do. I don't like that pick at all. I wanted to go with my friend, teammate, and buddy, Dylan Benji, who had a 1.3 innings.
I'm getting up.
A 0 ERA.
Oh, he was here for ERA. Oh, yeah. Let's give him a round of applause.
Had the best ERA in the entire league in one inning pitched. Had a great time. I'm just kidding. I know. I really like True Hendrickson as the relief pitcher.
Oh, you like True? Nice.
Don't take that out of context. I thought this was supposed to be PG, man. I like True Hendrickson for that pick. Obviously, he's been in the league the longest. I think he's one of the longest tenured players aside from his brother. Obviously, he was part of the Wise Guys a long time ago. And we've mentioned his name plenty of times, so I think it would be weird not to mention his name for a big part of this award. But he was also a big piece to the Purple Huskies' success this season. And the criteria for relief pitcher of the year is kind of interesting, but I think it's a great pick for that.
Yeah, multiple time MVP winner, winner of a Cy Young as well, if I'm not mistaken. So a very, very good pitcher. He missed some time, so didn't quite have as many innings as he has in the past. There's been sometimes he's had 40 plus innings, but not this year when you have Drake Hoffman in there and you have Joey Ponder mixing in there as well. Next up on my list, I have the Rookie of the Year, which this would only not be extremely clear if he were. I think he is. We'll talk more about him in consideration for other awards, but I think the very clear Rookie of the Year is a. Well, he's not even really a man at this point. He's still in high school. He's still going through puberty and becoming a man. Had a 480 average, the 618 on base percentage, 9 home runs, and then pitching wise, he was immense as well. 5.34 ERA, 39 in the third innings pitched, 76 strikeouts, only gave up 35 runs the whole year. And he was fourth in the league in innings pitched, third in the league in strikeouts. That would be not your brother, Mr. James Lee.
Yeah, he's not related to me if you didn't realize that now.
He might be.
He could be. I could adopt him today. It would make sense, right? But no. That's stereotypical.
Please don't.
There wasn't too many rookies in Division 1. Obviously, a big chunk of them kind of came into Division 2 because that's usually where they start if they're starting with a new group of guys. But James Lee came in here from a different league. A lot of people kind of knew who he was before he came in here. Shows off a lot of pitching videos. I think a lot of people were impressed by the way he pitched and didn't really realize that anybody could humanly possibly like pitch a ball the way that he does. And it's kind of hard to compare it with any other people because there wasn't really a whole lot of rookies this season that had the same amount of impressive numbers. So if you wanted to call this a landslide, I think that's a good argument to say so.
I think this one's pretty much unanimous unless you consider him for another award somewhere along the line. But
you could have picked Dylan Menji for Rookie of the Year, right? Because he's new too, yeah.
No, he's not. He was literally here in the summer.
I know. I'm just joking.
Oh my god. This is what I have to deal with. So this one seems pretty clear to me. We'll talk more about James a little later, though. Mm-hmm. For Cy Young, this guy could have possibly been the Cy Young winner last year. However, did not have the innings and ended up having winning a different pitching award, which we talked about earlier. And that would be one Mr. Drake Hoffman. Led the league in ERA with a 1.69 ERA. 32 innings pitched, 56 strikeouts, only gave up 9 runs the whole year, which I believe some of them were to us, so we still own him. But Drake Hoffman had a very good year pitching wise. His arsenal has continued to improve, especially from the first time that we mentioned that very first time we played the plastic pitches. We scored 8 runs off Drake in the first inning, and I had a grand slam, which you can still see on video somewhere in the Wilsonville C page. But Drake was very impressive in the pitching this season, and it's a pretty clear choice in my mind for the Cy Young winner.
Oh, you already know I'm going with Cy Young winner here, my boy.
Well, Justin Lee.
I'm just kidding. No, not even 20 yards.
Oh, you're gonna choose Ethan, aren't you?
No, I was gonna choose Dylan again, man. Come on, I did it 2 times. You could have figured.
And people say I'm the homer.
The homer. I like that pick because we've usually picked Dylan Hoffman as the Cy Young Award winner the past 2 seasons because of his impressive numbers. He did it again. 98 strikeouts in total, nearing 100 strikeouts this season. Just the ERA was a little bit off this season for him. Not as impressive as we've seen the last 2 seasons. he had a great season this year. Blake Fitzgerald also had a fantastic year, pitching wise, but not as a great ERA as Drake Hoffman. Drake Hoffman really kind of stepped it up in that department this season, and I think it's kind of hard to really take that out of context. I think the other person, obviously, we've also talked about him a lot too, was Stephen Hayden, a 3.60 ERA, 58 strikeouts, 28.3 innings pitched. That guy's kind of rude sometimes though, so I don't really know. But
shut your dirty mouth.
you don't know who I'm talking about. But I think Drake Hoffman had a great year this year. I think it's hard to misinterpret how those numbers with the pitching side of things. 1.69 ERA, fantastic number. So I think that's a great pick for a Cy Young Award winner there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well deserved for him. All right, so now we move on to one of our last awards here. Actually, an award I can show off here that I won back in the spring of 2022. I already showed it off earlier, and that is the Hank Aaron Award, as you guys can see. Anyways, enough showing off. But this one was a pretty interesting one. I have two big main candidates for this one. One being Anthony Agrusa, who we talked about earlier as the Purple League Man of the Year. He had a very good offensive season for the Shepherd's Pie for his team. And the other guy, who I'm actually going to choose as the winner of this award in a very close race, is a man who won a hitting award last year. I believe he was Silver Slugger last year, but this year had a 4.10 average, 25 hits, 9 home runs, and had a 586 on base percentage, one of the highest in the league. So I'm going to be giving that. Giving the Hank Aaron Award to that person and Lucas Sardo. Probably one of the closer votes in the Division I award voting. So what are your thoughts on this one?
I think it's a good pick. Lucas Sardo obviously won Silver Slugger a season ago. Had some very nice numbers. In terms of which, Anthony Agrusa also had some very good stats in the hitting side of things this season as well. Had a crap ton of number of hits, and he definitely did. I mean, on top of what he did in the Purple League as well, did very good in Division I. Adjusted pretty well to a lot of the competition that was kind of coming through, pretty much throughout the entirety of the Division I season. So I would honestly agree. There's a few guys I would definitely contest in the next award, but I do like this pick between Anthony Agrusa and Lucas Sardo. I think it's a great pick.
Well, we'll get on to the next award in a little bit, but Lucas Sardo, especially when you look at some of those advanced stats, which are way too advanced for me, you can see him shooting up the leaderboards even more. When you compare him to, he had the this past season, when you look at on base percentage and average. He was only behind Stephen Hayden, James Lee, and Shane Hendrickson. One of those we already talked about as award winner. Two of those we will talk about in a little bit. And then same thing for on base percentage. It's the same situation. Lucas is right there. So I think the last season I believe I chose him. I personally chose him. Predicted that he would just miss out as a hitting award hitting winner. But this year I have him getting that Hank Aaron Award for this fall 2023 season, and I did have him in the second team All-American this year. He just missed out on the first team in my opinion. This one's just looking at the hitting, which he was great at. So this is where things start to get a little interesting. There's a few names up for the MVP. Primarily like guys like James Lee, Shaden Hendrickson, Stephen Hayden. I already put James Lee in the Rookie of the Year, so for me, I don't have him as the MVP. So it's really it's between Stephen Hayden and Shaden Hendrickson. Both these guys played each other 4 times throughout the year. But moving on next for the Silver Slugger, my pick for that is going to be Shaden Hendrickson. Shaden Hendrickson had a great offensive season. If I'm not mistaken, he had 464 with a 615 on base percentage. He was third in the league in both of those categories. 13 home runs, just 2 behind the leader, which I believe it was Ryan Swanson was the leader. Although his average on base percentage, in my opinion, were not good enough to be able to win the Silver Slugging Award. But Hayden Hendrickson was a force to be reckoned with all year at the plate, and so I have him as my winner for the Silver Slugger Award. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a great pick here with the Silver Slugger Award winner. Obviously, like you said, James Lee could have been also a big pick for this award as well, but putting him in the Rookie of the Year spot kind of makes that a little tougher to make that decision. Hayden Hendrickson had a great season, a big chunk of on-base percentage as well. In that aspect, the third highest on-base percentage this season, and on-base plus slugging was second behind James Lee this season as well. Hayden, we know very much. He's won a plethora of awards in his career here in the Orange County Wiffle Ball League. I like this pick. I would say for like a close second would probably be like Ryan Swanson could have been up there as well, who did indeed have the most home runs this previous season with 15 in total. Kind of in that mix there. Also, Hayden Hager would have been also an honorable mention for this as well. Had 14 home runs this season. A great third slugging in the entire league as well. That could have been another potential candidate as well in there, but I think Hayden Hendrickson had some better numbers in that department. You also look at the amount of hits that he had, second in the amount of hits this season, including the singles in that department as well. So he had a fantastic season this year in this fall 2020 season. So I think it's a great pick for sure.
Yeah, very very deserving of an award. And their team did finish in the MS. He went back to the MS Warriors after being away for a season with the Purple Huskies, but a big season for him. Was in the MVP conversations early, and even with that list that came out at the beginning of the season from an unknown source, but they seemed to be pretty close to Joey Bonner. Seemed to hack his account and make a post on there about the awards, the award odds, so MVP odds. But I said it right then and there. I said I really like Hayden Hendrickson, and I set plus 750. Obviously, I liked any other Wiffle C player at plus 10,000. But now we get on to the MVP votes. There were 3 main guys in consideration for this. When you look at the stats, at least in my opinion, you had James Lee, you had Hayden Hendrickson, and you had Stephen Hayden. You had those 3 guys being in there. So I'm actually going to turn it over to you first before I say who I chose as my MVP winner. Looking at all the numbers and stuff and what happened throughout the year, who in your opinion was the MVP of the fall 2023 season?
This one is honestly a little. It's interesting to judge the MVP award because obviously we have a big chunk of numbers here. Like my criteria for the most part is selecting the guys who do a lot in both pitching and hitting in that aspect. I think the clear-cut candidates, like you said, were also Hayden and James Lee. I like those picks in that position as well. Just my only issue with a guy like Drake and Dylan, they didn't really have the hitting stats that a lot of the top hitters up there had this season. So I think they're definitely reserved for those pitching spots as well. In terms of hitting wise, there's just Hayden Hendrickson was kind of the eye popper there for me for the most part. So I certainly would have him up there in that conversation. I think when you look at the stats that Stephen Hayden had this season as well, it's a little tougher to discern between highest batting average, highest number of hits, highest number of singles. Just a little behind in some of the other stat sheets, but he's up there as well. And then pitching wise, also right up there as well. Third in ERA, third in earned runs, fifth in strikeout number totals. Was a big piece of why that team kind of really went on that run towards the very end, and throughout the entirety of the season as well. For me, it's a pretty close fight between Hayden Hendrickson and Stephen Hayden. back-to-back MVP season for Stephen Hayden.
Gotcha. We've never seen a back-to-back MVP in this league before. We've had Drew Hendrickson win 2, but there was a season in between in which he didn't win the MVP. But I'm gonna have to agree with you there as well. I think that try-hard loser Stephen Hayden ends up getting the job done here. When you look at that Division I leaderboard, he was a very big part to the team's success this year. Leading the league in hits, leading the league in singles, leading the league in average, and was the only person that hit above 500 in the league. The next closest person was James Lee at 480. So Stephen was 42 points above the second place for batting average. On base percentage, Stephen led the league. The slugging is what puts is what Shaden has over Stephen. But then if you look at the pitching side of things, you can see Stephen is well up there. When you look at his innings pitch, he's only 8th for innings pitch, but then he has the 5th most strikeouts. That's a great jump to be able to see. Stephen actually doing the calculations. Stephen actually averaged just over 2 strikeouts an inning. So as I just mentioned, he's averaging more than 2 strikeouts an inning. So there's some innings, the average inning is going to be 2 strikeouts or possibly 3. He gave up the 3rd least number of runs in the league, and then ERA-wise, he had the 3rd lowest ERA in the league. And when you look at these total team stats as well, that's where things started to look really big. The LA Wolfsville C led the league in hits. They led the league in singles. They were 2nd in doubles, 2nd in triples. And when you look team batting average, they led the league. On base percentage, they were 3rd in the league. When you look at all that, really a big reason for that during the regular season was because of a guy like Stephen Hayden. You look at LA Wolfsville C as a team. Stephen with that 522 average there, and then the next closest person in average was a 333. So for their team total, Stephen was the only person that was above their team batting average in terms of batting average and things like that. So and then the playoffs don't affect things as much, but what he was able to do in the playoffs was great. For my money, I know this guy did walk away with the summer 2023 MVP. I think this is a closer race than the summer 2023 MVP was. I think Shaden and James both had great seasons. But I would be a little surprised if Stephen did not win this award here. Your thoughts on what you just heard, all those stats, all those numbers, and a lot of the lead in the league, and a lot of stuff. Do you think this would be do you think this is a clear-cut MVP, or do you think this is a pretty close battle?
I think some people could also flip, between the Silver Slugger. Like we obviously, there was that pick with Shaden Henderson, the Silver Slugger spot. That could also been a potential spot stealer there as well. Certainly for James Lee as well was up there, but I think we could say reserve him for the Rookie of the Season type of deal, because obviously he's new to the league and he made some really big splashes this season. He could have a good chance to go through for his own MVP this season if he is able to produce the same amount of numbers, maybe even better this season as well. Maybe not as clear cut this season because Shaden's like right behind him in that aspect in the batting wise of things. I think some people could definitely argue with that as well. But if you wanted to find that clear third person, it's kind of hard to discern as well. I made this analogy last season as well with the Shohei Ohtani idea, was the fact that he may not be leading in a lot of ton of stats, but he also is, mentioned in top 3 in certain stats as well. So you have to really include that, not just thinking about the hitting stats, the pitching stats. Like, you need to be number 1 in those aspects all the time. You can be number 1 in a lot of different categories, and maybe top 3 in some other ones. You can still be considered MVP in that aspect.
Yeah, and I think for this season, Steven's leading even more stuff, and just in terms of getting the stuff like singles and being a big reason why his team end up having the highest team batting average in the league and one of the higher on base percentages in the league. You look at the league average for the fall, the D1, the fall average was a 0.280 average. And Steven was I believe he more than doubled that average with a 522. So those advanced numbers are not on Steven's side. They take a lot more into slugging, which Steven don't have the most slugging here. He did have 7 home runs. However, he did have 36 hits. He had the most hits in the league by 4. So like I said, I would personally be surprised if Steven does not win the MVP here. Would be back to back for him. It would be his second MVP. And it depending on who the MVP was, I talked about this either last podcast. I know it would have been 2 or 3 podcasts ago. How the player who ends up winning MVP in the regular season out of the first 6 seasons has only won a grand total of 1 playoff game. So if Steven were to win the MVP, that Steven did go 5-0 in the playoffs, so that number would be boosted drastically. Whereas if a guy like Hayden Hendrickson won the MVP, that curse still lives on because Hayden Hendrickson did not win a playoff game this fall. So be interesting to see. We'll see how all these awards shake out. The only one we know that's a guarantee is the home run derby champion. They're going to LA Wiffles of OC player Jordan Drexler. But other than that, you have to come see what awards are handed out to whom and all that stuff. So those are our thoughts on stuff like that. And we to all the people that do end up winning the awards, we wish you luck in winning those.
Certainly. So it was a great season this year, and those obviously we have our picks there. Don't have to agree, or if you want to agree, totally can. But those are just obviously the opinions of what we believe should have deserved most with those awards. And I think we covered a big chunk of those of who's definitely deserving of that. And we have a long winter season to go, so obviously we'll have a new batch of first team, second team, and all the award winners for next season. But keep an eye out. Awards will be coming out very soon. And if your name is ultimately picked, then congratulations to you in your accomplishment this past season for the fall 2023.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the actual award winners for next week's podcast. But for now, good luck. If you think you've won or deserved an award and you didn't hear your name mentioned here, well, too bad. We'll see what happens as we get out to the field. We hear the awards get announced. I've heard there may be some different awards out. Also, all the World Series winners will be getting their awards, will be getting their trophies as well. For the Purple League, Division 2, and for the Summer Classic, those teams will be getting. It looks like a mini bat of some sorts. I'm not sure exactly what they look like or what they're made out of, but I have heard they look pretty cool and are not cheap. So, whereas for Division 1, for my team, the other will see. We will be getting another plaque as is handed out to the winner for each season before this, and now with D1, the D1 team will get the honor of winning that plaque again. So things should be good. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, like I said, guaranteed awards: Jordan Drexler for the home run derby champ, and then all the World Series award winners. So, if things come out to fruition, the other Wolves of OC could be making away with a lot of awards. So, they have Jordan Drexler, home run champion, Stephen Hayden being MVP, and then you have the Wiffles of OC who won the Summer Classic, the OC Wiffle Summer Classic this summer in a tournament, and then also winning the Fall 2023 World Series. So they could be making out with a lot of trophies depending on how things go. And plus James Lee with the Rookie of the Year, part of the organization, and then also a guy like Owen Scher, part of the organization, even though they don't have an LA Wiffles name in their title, they're just called Whoosh. So things would be very interesting. I was hoping you would laugh there, but that's all right. But now we got some other stuff to talk to talk about. Not necessarily relating to OC wiffle ball, but more of a fun wiffle ball trip.
Yeah. So obviously I'm not part of this, so this is definitely more your guys' touch on this as well. But what happened last weekend, like you saw with Stephen Hayden, was that he was on a trip to Arizona with his buddy Dustin Staggs, who was also one of the players on our team as well. Canada out there for a tournament with BLW, if I'm mistaken, right? So would you like to talk about that a little bit more in depth on how that day went exactly?
Yeah, so this was this past weekend. It was a 1-day tournament. The tournament took place on the 21st of October. So you saw me in different places for my recording of the podcast. You know, we do some stuff early, some stuff late. Some stuff had to be done. Some stuff took longer than expected, off camera mainly. But so the tournament was on Saturday. Some of the teammates and stuff, we had gone out. They decided to go out on Wednesday night to get there early. You know, kind of settle in and be able to explore the area a little bit and hang out and stuff like that. So some got on Wednesday. Some got there Thursday. I ended up not getting out there until Friday nights. I still had baseball practice throughout the week, and from when baseball practice ended about 12:30, I picked a couple things up, picked someone up, and then I drove out to Arizona myself. Got there around 8:30. To everyone having a good time. You know, kind of just gelling with each other and getting ready for tomorrow. And all of a sudden, about half an hour after I get there. I see another OC football player who we were just finished talking about recently, Hayden Hendrickson, walk in the door. Who him and his girlfriend had just recently got home from. I believe it was Game 4 of the Diamondbacks and Phillies series, which the Diamondbacks won. They went to go check that out. They had been there at least for a day or two or something like that. So we're all hanging out, and then kind of during the night I had to go up. I found a quiet space and then ended up recording the podcast with Justin. So that's why you guys saw that. You guys saw that from last week. You saw that white background with the little window on the side there. That was not where I am right now, because obviously this is what my setup kind of looks like the whole time. Just my room, but I was in a different area then, obviously. So Saturday comes around. So we've brought out 2 teams out to this tournament. We've brought out this one's a little bit more of an A and B team. Hayden was on the B team. I was on the A team. The A team included guys like me and Dustin Staggs, a couple other players from the SoCal League, and then also we had one of the more notable players in MLW in Michigan come out to play with us. Sawyer Bean, for those who know who that is. Sawyer Bean came out to play with us on my team this past weekend. Has some experience, has a lot of experience in the fast pitch. Actually, that's what he's played more fast pitch than he has MLW. He started in fast pitch, but he was able to come out with us and be able to play with us out there in Arizona this past weekend. Ended up doing pretty well, but we get there. We have a 9:00 start. Our first game actually is against our other team, so we end up playing each other. We win that game 10-0. These are 4-inning games. This is fast pitch wiffle ball right here. So this is some intense stuff. And I was not relaxing in Arizona. I was, after winning a World Series, I was out there still competing and trying to blow my arm out, because I had just pitched a couple innings on Friday in baseball, and then the next day I'm out there pitching, and it got up to 100 at one point out there. But where we were on a minor league field spring training field out there. It was Goodyear Park, which is the home of the Cleveland Guardians and the Cincinnati Reds for their spring training fields. But we win that first game 10-0. I hit a home run off Hayden in our first at bat, so that was kind of nice, because I've had the most success versus Hayden in OC wiffle ball. We get to game 2. We play a familiar team that we have seen out at Upland in some of these tournaments in the Las Vegas Cajuns, who had a little bit of a different roster. They had Peter Mockabee playing with them, who is Justin, as Justin probably remembers. He did not play with them at these Upland tournaments. I'm sorry to bore you, Justin. I know you're falling asleep there, but I do have some stuff to explain, so I apologize. But
No. I'm listening. Don't worry. It looks like I'm like falling asleep, but I'm not. But
it is like 12:30 at night, so
as we're doing this, yeah.
So back to this. So we fall down 1-0 early in the game. Then the second inning, our pitcher's a little wild. I ended up leading off the second inning with a hit, and then I had a walk in my next at bats, which made it a 2-1 game. And then our four hitter hit a grand slam to make it a 6-1 game. From that point on, we held on to the win, and ended up beating the Cajuns 6-0. So our final matchup of pool play, because we had 3 pool play games, we won the first 2. So this is all based off a point system. You get 2 points for winning, 1 point for a tie, and 0 points for a loss. So at this point, we're sitting on 4 points at 2-0, and we face what was seen as the hardest team out there. It was a team called the Las Vegas Phenoms. It was a combination of a couple of different teams. It was a combination of the Las Vegas Whifflers, which those players from that team, it was Jay Ventresca, Steve Trispus, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, and then Jordan Bonet, who, if you guys haven't seen Jordan Bonet, check him out. He's an absolute monster. He looks like he could play linebacker in the NFL, but he can also throw a ball 95 miles an hour. So talk more about him later. And then the Phenoms, which is a very good team out that plays at the World Championships. They were the runner-ups in 2022. And they made it, and they got knocked out in the Final Four this year. But the players from there, it was a guy named David Wood, aka Toast. The other guy was Jordan Robles, who last year was the number 4 ranked football player in the world. So that's what we had to go against in Game 3. So I was gonna start this game, but there was some talk, and ended up getting Sawyer was going to start and try to get the first inning, try to get his arm warmed up for the rest of the day, because he was going to be our later game pitcher along with me if needed, and another lefty we had. But Sawyer struggled to find the command against them. He walked the first 3 guys, and then Toast hit a grand slam off him, and then there were 2 more, and then Sawyer had 2 more walks. And then at that point, it was kind of like, he's not finding it right now. So we put me in, and I came in. I first faced off Jordan Robles, so I gave up a double to, so it ended up being 5-0, and then I got 3 straight outs with some good defense, and I believe I had a strikeout in there. As the game kept wearing on, I pitched the second and third inning, and actually throw 2 scoreless innings against the Las Vegas Phenoms, having some success with everybody, having some mixed success with everybody except for Jordan Robles, who I'll talk more about his day later because it was ridiculous. So it's still 5-0 going to the 4th inning. I've struck it out once, and I've put 2 balls in play, but they've been fielded. So that we only had 1 hit in the game at that point, and then we got to the 4th inning. I gave up a 3-run home run to Toast, who I was at a 3-1 count. I threw a good pitch to him on the outside part of the zone. He just stepped right in. It almost seemed like he knew it was coming. He just stepped right into it, hit it to the outfield for a home run. And then Jordan Robles, I had him with an 0-2 count. And I decided to try to pitch with my heart over my head. I said, let me just try to throw one as hard as I can, see if I can get him to swing and miss. I ended up leaving one that came right into the zone, and my hardest is not the hardest that he's ever seen. He probably saw mine. It's not too fast, so he ends up hitting that for a 2-run home run. So we lose that game 10-0, but overall, I pitched really well. Was looking real good against the Las Vegas Phenoms, who were kind of seen as the top two for sure, but definitely top two, but kind of seen as the number one team there. So we finished 2-1. We finished with 4 points. That ends up putting us in fourth place for the elimination round. And we end up playing the Las Vegas Pharaohs, which consisted of Logan Christie, who Justin should remember from the tournaments. We have Tom Gannon, who eliminated our team in at the World Championships, and then another young lefty in the Arizona area named Brody Livingston, who looks like I think he can get a ball up to 95 miles an hour or something like that. So he big arm there, but we get in the first inning. Logan Christie hits a leadoff home run off of Sawyer. Sawyer starting this game. But Sawyer's finding the zone a lot better here, only giving up 1 run in the first. And then the second inning, Sawyer and Cannon both hit home runs. I had a couple walks, but they both hit home runs to make it a 5-1 ball game off of Brody. So they had switch pitchers go back to Tom Gannon. And from that point on, there wasn't a whole lot of offense after that. Brody Livingston had another home run in the fourth inning for the Pharaohs. We ended up tacking on another run off of a walk, I believe, to make it and the game ended up being 6-2. We ended up winning that game. Sawyer only giving up the 2 runs and pitching much better than he did against the Las Vegas Phenoms. So we moved on to the semifinal round, where unfortunately we had to go play the Las Vegas Phenoms again. But instead this time they were pitching one of their top arms, one of the 2 Jordans. They were throwing Jordan Bonet, who that day he topped out at 95 and probably can throw harder. There was some confusion on a lot of things, lineup wise, starting pitcher wise, stuff like that. I ended up not playing in the semifinal game, which I'm still very disappointed in, and in the moment I wasn't happy, but kind of had to accept it because I didn't really have a choice. But in the moment and looking back at it, I was very discouraged by what happened in general. But we get to the game. Sawyer starts the game again. I believe we went 1-2-3 in the top of the first inning, the bottom of the first. Sawyer, similar thing, walks the first 3 batters. Ends up getting a strikeout to toast this time, but then Jordan Bonet steps up to the plate, hits a grand slam himself, and they're just hitting Sawyer at this point. We decided to bring in a guy who hadn't pitched yet all day. Got a lefty named Cannon Rabbits, who ended up walking a couple runs in, which the max for an inning you can score an inning is 6. So they scored 6 in the first inning. Top of the second, similar result. I think maybe 1 base runner got on, so it wasn't quite 1-2-3, but it might have been. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm sitting on the sideline, just kind of like I can't really do anything. I'm not being put in the game for whatever reason, which is more of a private matter between. I gotta have a deeper conversation with Dustin about it. But bottom of the second inning, Cannon gives up a grand slam to toast, and the Phenoms end up putting up another 6 runs to make it 12-0 after 2 innings. And at that point, it's like, okay, I'm sitting on the sideline, and I'm kind of out of the game at that point because I'm still a little pissed off that I was sat in the first place. But it ends up staying a 12-0 game. We ended up losing the game 12-0. It was a fun atmosphere out there. A lot of people watching us in the other semifinal game going on, but we ended up getting knocked out in the semifinals. Finished tied for 3rd, but lost twice to the same team. Ended up with a 3-2 record, but. I felt like overall was a pretty good tournament for us. Just some things did not go the way I thought they would. And then the final was a great game as well. You got Jordan Robles versus Mike Toohey as the pitching matchup. In the second inning, Mike Toohey hits a 2-run home run. That was the difference as Wolfzilla was able to win 2-0 in the final. Surprising final, in my opinion. I thought the Las Vegas Phenoms were going to take it, but Wolfzilla proved me wrong. Mike Toohey proved me wrong. So it was fun to see both pitchers get up to 96 miles an hour in the final as well. So it was a great day and a great night out there. Ended up going from like 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. So it was a fun day out there, and we'll see how things roll. We'll see how things roll for next year. But we were there Saturday, able to kind of relax a little bit Saturday night. And then Sunday we had some like a late breakfast, early lunch, and from there everyone either headed to drop people off the airport, or everyone was pretty much headed home. And then I ended up getting home around like 8:30ish or so, because I had to drive someone to Fontana, and then I had to drive another hour 20 to get home. So yeah, that was our Arizona trip this weekend. If you're still awake, I appreciate it, whether it be you or Justin or the audience. But that's kind of what happened with us. I know it's not the most entertaining conversation for you since you weren't there, but
Yeah, I mean, definitely interesting, because I didn't know how complex this actual tournament was, because I don't really know BLW as much as most other people do. Because I know I've heard about it in our other previous stories about, like, SoCal Wiffle being part of those things. It definitely sounded like this was kind of like a second coming of the World Championship Tournament. Obviously, if you watch MLW, I know Jordan Robles' team got knocked out this season in the playoffs, and then obviously he's got more time on his hands. But it sounded like it was interesting, shorter trip, so more accessible to the individual rather than having to fly all the way up to York, Pennsylvania, and spending a lot more money. But I mean, obviously that one was more worth it. Do you find this one more worth it as well? Just being able to play on like a really nice field, and actually that stadium looks fantastic, by the way. Looked like a nice place to kind of have some wiffle ball action in there.
yeah, I mean this one was different from the York one. So that this tournament, if you don't know, it's Big League Wiffle Ball. They're a league out in Arizona. They have a field in their backyard that they play on for their league. But this one, they got Goodyear Park to host them to have their tournament on for the field for the whole day. And this one was pretty different. As I mentioned, some guys got there on Wednesday and were able to be there for a couple extra days compared to me. So they were there they got there late Wednesday night. They were there all day Thursday, all day Friday, whereas I got there just Friday night and then left Sunday like early afternoon. So for me, it was kind of a quick in and out, long driving, but not too horrible overall. But compared to like the UWIFs, I found I guess it's different experiences for different people. I know I talked to Dustin, and he said he was in more awe of last year's Arizona tournament than he was of the UWIFs tournament this year. Whereas the UWIFs was my first big tournament experience, like real big tournament experience, and I was just in awe of that, just being able to see everybody out there. Here you saw a good number of guys, but you didn't get. Excuse me. You didn't quite get like literally everybody out there, so I found that difference interesting. Also, having my own car out there made a difference. I didn't have to rely on rides. I could kind of go where I wanted when I wanted to. So overall, it felt a little more homey this tournament, especially relating to the distance and having my own car. And we were staying in an Airbnb this time instead of in a hotel like we were in Pennsylvania. So those are kind of some of the differences I saw.
Some very subtle differences for sure. I mean, obviously, one thing is the distance between here and York, Pennsylvania, between Arizona. There's a very big difference there. Obviously, you guys have a different place to stay in. I guess my question is, did y'all live it up though? At least before the tournament went.
Well, I mean, I got there late Friday night, and then also Friday night I was recording the podcast. So I personally did not. I was staying locked in. I was staying focused. I can't say the same for everybody, but that's not. But I can't really go into much detail on that. Let's just say one guy once we got to Saturday morning, one guy was worried he was going to have to go to the hospital before the game. So
whoa, okay. That's a
that's a story. That's an off-camera story.
Yeah, that's PG. We'll keep it PG there. But I guess you guys have a lot of fun going out to these tournaments. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is just going out there and having fun and getting more experience with a lot of the bigger players. You were saying that earlier. You guys nearly hit 100. Is that what I heard?
Well, it was getting pretty hot out there. I think at some point it might have been over 100 degrees there. But it was a pretty hot day out there. I will say, lot of different fluids drank, lot of water especially. I mean, I had 70 ounces of water. Then I had like another gallon of water I drank throughout the rest of the day. So just having to stay hydrated and things like that, especially when I'm out pitching against one of the top teams out there. It was tiring. So. Overall was I think it was a good day, and it was good to have a lot of success here. We finished tied for third. We finished tied for third with the BLW team. So we'll see how events like this go in the future, and if there are any events around here locally, or if because this is kind of closer to the end of the fast pitch style of play. So. At least for this year, before things kick up again, next March or April, somewhere around there.
I'm just starting to wind down a little bit. So now you get back to OC Wiffle stuff. Do you find it kind of difficult sometimes to readjust to, the fast pitch stuff, and then coming back like a few days later, and then having to pitch at 62 miles an hour?
Yeah, definitely for sure. Like in terms of like the pain on my arm. Fast pitch does get to your arm. Especially for a guy like me, I've gotten up to like 86, 87 on the fast pitch. So then I'll go back to 62. It's a big adjustment period. Not just the speed, but also the type of ball. Those fast pitch tournaments, I'm throwing a cut ball, which moves a whole lot more. And all of a sudden, I come back here and I'm throwing a non-scuffed wiffle ball, which doesn't move nearly as much. Plus, I have to throw it slower. Another thing is the bat. I was seeing we came back to OC wiffle ball. I was in the tournament, I was seeing the ball pretty well, and then we got back to OC wiffle ball. I was seeing the ball really well, but I was still kind of used to that big barrel feeling, and I missed a couple that normally I would not miss if I was just playing OC wiffle ball normally. But that's something I'll be able to focus on and get back down as we go through the rest of this season. And looking at more success for the LWC and trying to get our third title and things like that. But I do very much enjoy the fast pitch style of play as well. It's good to for me. I like adjusting to different stuff. I adjust to the OC wiffle ball style. I adjust to the SoCal wiffle ball style. I adjust to fast pitch. Might even do another tournament, which is more like the golden stick wiffle ball rules, which is very different as well. So. I just like to play, man. It's all about I like to adjust to different stuff and try to figure things out.
Yeah, I think you've said it before. You're representing this bigger picture of California football in itself, and then obviously just trying a lot of different things. Obviously we've done the Upland tournaments. You're part of a different league, SoCal Wiffle Ball. You're expanding your boundaries, going to stuff like UWIFs and including this one, BLW Tournament up in Arizona. So a lot of expectations, a lot of experiences to be shared. And honestly, thank you for sharing that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are, if you guys also didn't know, I'm also I also got named as the captain for the SoCal Wiffle Ball All-Star game, which got put online. So if you want to see me captain that, you can go check that out as well.
Ooh, that would be interesting. If you wanted to check Steven out on that, you should also check that out. A very interesting video. I got to see a big chunk of that, and I mean, if you want to mention some stuff that happened a little bit there, you totally have free range if you want to.
You'll see me at some highs and you'll see me at some lows. You'll see me you'll see me in a very funny situation near the end of the video, kind of involving the base path. So I don't want to dwell on it too much.
Okay.
I mean, we're not showing any of the video this time like we did before, but it was a fun day to be out there, and it was good to be the captain of the team.
Certainly so. I guess we'll just keep much of a secret until people watch those videos. And then we've also got a big chunk of major MLW coming up pretty soon. Obviously, they're in their World Series phase now. They're going to be playing up in Atlanta in that nice stadium at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So a lot of great stuff happening in the wiffle ball world at this very moment.
Yeah, depending on when this podcast goes up, their World Series could be done actually in real time, but in terms of videos and stuff, those will still come up somewhat normally on their channels, so in their normal schedule and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how things roll out here. Wiffle ball, things are starting to wind down a little bit wiffle ball wise, but things are also still very exciting as we get to. As we get on to the end of the year, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of the stuff we have going on wiffle ball wise, just around the country, around the world, stuff like that. But just if you're interested, keep watching. If you want some new stuff to watch, some different styles, come ask me about. I can tell you a lot about different styles that are being played and stuff like that. So I'm able to meet a bunch of guys. I'm able to just kind of research and look up a lot of stuff. So
certainly, for sure. Well, don't know if you have a whole lot of other things that you want to mention before we close out here, but I think we kind of covered what we really wanted to do in this episode today. Obviously, week 2 is going to start up next week for the winter 2023 season. A lot of games to be played this year, and I think that should be okay. If you got nothing else, Steven.
Yeah, I think we're all good here. I just see it was just uploaded. If you want to go check out the LWC season end recap. It seems that someone got bored during my Arizona story and posted it up.
I don't know what you're talking
about. I could see the time when she was posted up, and I could see how long I was talking about the Arizona. So that's totally fine.
I was listening to your thing the entire time. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
All right, if you say so. But no, appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, like I said, if you guys are interested in other wiffle ball stuff, let me know. We can talk about more stuff. But for now, that's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys for next week as we talk about all the guys that won the awards.
Yes, sir. We'll take a look at that, and we will see you guys in episode 30. Getting to the 30 mark now in the That Scuffed Up episode trilogy here. So stay tuned for that, and this is Justin Lee, Stephen Hayden for That Scuffed Up episode 29. We shall see you guys next week. Happy Halloween.
Man, whatever.